I'm wondering, Dr. Bridges, if there are. I think of the men who might be watching on the blog right now, and many of them are men who are not. Uh, they're in the midst of the everyday life. There are a lot of mundane moments in their lives, a lot of just daily responsibilities, and they're seeking to honor the Lord and to lead their families, but there's a sort of repetitiveness, and sometimes life isn't all that exciting. Um, how would you encourage men who feel right now like they're just slogging through and seeking to obey the Lord, but not finding it very glamorous?
Well, I don't think much of life is very glamorous. It doesn't matter. Excuse me. It doesn't matter whether you're in full-time Christian work or as a mechanic at the auto dealership or an architect working on a new design, whatever. Life is not glamorous. It's just there's a lot of just stuff in it. And what we need to learn to do is to see Christ in every aspect of our lives. One of the passages that's most meaningful to me is in Colossians 3:22-24, where Paul is talking to slaves, which is about as mundane as you can get. Mm-hmm. And he says, obey your masters as unto the Lord, and serve your master not only when their eyes on them, but whenever they're not on you, because you're serving the Lord. Now, all the commentaries say that principle of slaves obeying their master applies in principle to the employee-employer relationship today. And so the principle that I get out of that is that I can serve Christ in the midst of the most mundane job. I can serve Christ as an auto mechanic by doing a good job repairing the customer's car. And also, of course, helping my boss, the dealership, to stay in business because they have a good reputation and so forth. Let me tell you a story about this, since we're on cars. Several years ago, I met a retired auto salesman, and quite unlike most auto salesmen, he'd made a career of it. Some of them are in for 6 months and then they're gone. He'd made a career. And about midlife, he trusted Christ. And he said to me, before I trusted Christ, I sold cars. After I trusted Christ, I started helping people buy cars. Now, what's the difference? The first one, selling car, I want this guy to buy all the bells and whistles because that's where the profit is. To help a person buy a car, what does he need, what can he afford, and then try to make the best fit between the buyer and the car. And he smiled at me and he said, though I'm retired, my old customers keep calling me up and asking me to come down to the dealership and help them buy a car.
Is that right?
Yeah. But you see, it's the difference between what's in it for me and I'm serving the Lord by serving these people. And if men in the most mundane, boring, repetitive jobs can keep that in mind, I'm serving Christ by serving my employer and helping my employer to serve people, then it can make the job exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Dr. Bridges, thank you so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure listening to you, and certainly we thank you for coming by to do this interview. Your insights, I'm sure, will be very impactful for the men who are watching and listening. So,
thanks, Bo. It's a privilege to be here.
You bet.